Let's talk about regrets as an artist. We all have some regrets, at least I think most of us do, and maybe this is something that really comes into sharp relief the longer you work at the thing. I'm 37 years old. I've been working on art in some capacity since I was probably, 5, 6, 7 years old. I actually just did a podcast not that long ago on my entire art journey if you want to check it out. But I've been at this for a while. In fact, I went to school for art. I have a BFA in graphic design and a BA in art education. I spent 11 years teaching middle school and high school art. So it might seem a little strange to say that my biggest regret artistically is that I didn't dedicate myself to the important things sooner. Now, what do I mean by this? I obviously spent a long time working with students, learning how to teach effectively. I went to classes and conferences and continued to hone those skills so that I could do my job to the best of my ability. And I really think that I did well by the students, I did well by myself. I'm proud of how I carried those things out. But as I've continued on in my artistic journey, I found that I avoided dedicating myself to the things that were really important to me because I was scared, and because those things had finite failure conditions. Staying in an artistic career where I was teaching, the failure conditions are kind of debatable. If you're working with 200 or 300 students over the course of a semester, I suppose you would say you ultimately failed if every one of those kids hated art when they came out of your class and were worse artists than when they came in. But of course that doesn't happen. But if your goal was to put out a comic book or to get into a gallery and you didn't achieve that, that's a really finite failure condition. So I guess my biggest regret, and I'm going to have to do a couple of these because otherwise this video is going to be really long, is that I didn't dedicate myself to the important things, the things important to me earlier in my life. Well, what is the solution to that? Let's talk about this in two aspects. One, for me personally. Moving forward, now that I know that about myself and about my life and my story, to focus that time moving forward. So I don't ever want to spend more than a week or two working on the things that are important to me, telling stories through my artwork, working on a children's book, working on getting my skills to the point where I can do comics and things like that. That's the first thing, is now that I know that about myself, I need to keep focusing on those things as I move forward. And the second part of that is, if you are in my position, whether you're my age, you're older, you're much younger, which is probably likely, you are not too late. And some wise person at some point said that the best time to plant a tree is 10 years ago, and the second best time is today. And I think that's really true when it comes to your art journey as well. So if you too are looking at what you've been focused on artistically and going, oh my goodness, I haven't been focusing on the things that I want to. I've dedicated 3 years to studying anatomy because I thought that I needed that to move on with what I wanted, and really it was just a crutch because moving on with what I wanted to move on with was too scary. Well, would it have been better to have avoided those 3 years in that pursuit? Maybe. But the second best thing you can do is to start moving today. Start going toward your individual goal today. Just don't waste any more time. And don't beat yourself up too badly for that. If I was to sit here and go, goodness, 20 years ago I could have dedicated my time to the things that I really wanted to focus on, where's that going to get me? It's not going to get me anywhere. It's going to make me disappointed, and it's going to actually make it harder to stick to what I want to stick to. So don't be too hard on yourself. Give yourself some grace. And though this is a regret of mine, it's something that is now propelling me forward at a rate that is eclipsing anything else I've done artistically. So I hope this gives you some hope. First of all, you're not alone if you find yourself in a similar position. And if you're younger than me, whether younger actually or younger artistically, I hope you can avoid this regrettable thing in your existence. As always, thank you for your time. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope it was of benefit to you. Let me know in the comments below how this particular regret hits you. Is this something you struggle with, something you've managed to avoid? I pray it's something you managed to avoid. Have a good one, y'all. See you soon.